Nearly 30 years after PC Keith Blakelock was killed by a mob in the Broadwater Farm riots in North London, a man has been charged with his murder.
Welcome to another gripping episode of Crime World.
A man appeared in court today accused of killing PC Keith Blakelock during the riots in Tottenham. The accused, Nicholas Jacobs, was 16 when PC Blakelock was stabbed to death at Broadwater Farm nearly 3 decades ago.
Today, we dive into the chilling cold case of PC Keith Blakelock.
And we also learned that the senior management on the ground were at times not as highly trained as the officers under their command.
A story that still haunts the streets of Tottenham, London. On the night of October 6, 1985, during the infamous Tottenham Riots, PC Keith Blakelock was brutally attacked and murdered while trying to protect his community. His death shocked the nation and marked a dark chapter in the history of civil unrest. The murder of Blakelock remains unsolved to this day, with questions surrounding the identity of his killers and the events leading up to his tragic death. Was it a crime of political rage, or was something more sinister at play? What truly happened that night, and why has justice remained elusive for so long? In this episode, we'll take you back to that fateful night, uncover the details of the investigation, and explore the ongoing quest for justice. It's a case that has left more questions than answers, but one thing is certain: the memory of PC Blakelock and his sacrifice remains alive in the hearts of many. Keith Blakelock's background. PC Keith Blakelock was not just a police officer, he was a man dedicated to serving his community. Born in 1958, Keith joined the Metropolitan Police in the late 1970s, eager to make a difference. He was stationed in the Tottenham area, which at the time was known for its social unrest and tensions between the local community and law enforcement. The 1980s were marked by civil disturbances across the UK, and Tottenham was at the heart of many of them. These tensions reached a boiling point during the riots of 1985, sparked by a combination of political and social issues, including police brutality, unemployment, and racial inequality. But even amid this volatile environment, Keith remained committed to his duty, regularly patrolling the streets of Tottenham. On that tragic night in October, Keith was part of a group of officers sent to help restore order during the riots. Little did he know, his commitment to public service would lead to the most dangerous and ultimately fatal night of his career. His murder remains a symbol of the severe and dangerous challenges faced by law enforcement during a time of intense social upheaval. The murder incident on the night of October 6, 1985, chaos erupted on the streets of Tottenham. The area was engulfed in flames as riots raged in response to growing tensions between the local community and the police. PC Keith Blakelock was part of a group of officers trying to control the unrest, but what happened next would change everything. As the officers attempted to disperse the crowd, the violence escalated. Keith found himself isolated from the rest of the team, surrounded by a hostile mob. In a brutal and senseless attack, he was dragged to the ground, beaten, and stabbed repeatedly. The violence was horrifying, and the ferocity of the attack left the officers helpless to save him. Keith's death was not just a loss of life, it was a devastating blow to the police force and the entire community. His murder marked the peak of the violence in the 1985 riots, drawing national attention and leaving an indelible mark on the history of police work in Britain. Despite immediate efforts to bring those responsible to justice, the case became a complicated and controversial investigation that would stretch on for years, with no clear answers. Investigation in legal cases. The murder of PC Keith Blakelock was a turning point in the investigation of the Tottenham riots. The police were determined to find those responsible for his brutal death, but the case quickly became mired in complications. The area was filled with angry protesters, and witnesses were either unwilling or too frightened to come forward, making it difficult for investigators to get clear answers. In the immediate aftermath, a number of arrests were made. Several men were charged with the murder of PC Blakelock, but the legal process proved to be far from straightforward. The prosecution's case relied heavily on witness statements and evidence gathered from the riot scene. However, it wasn't long before doubts began to emerge about the credibility of the evidence. Some witnesses recanted their testimonies, while others claimed they had been pressured to identify suspects. One of the most notable cases was the conviction of 2 men, who were later acquitted after it was revealed that key evidence had been mishandled. This led to growing concerns about the fairness of the trial, with many questioning whether the right individuals were brought to justice. The case eventually collapsed, leaving the true killers of PC Blakelock still at large. The lack of conviction fueled public frustration and added to the belief that justice had not been served. Public memory, the murder of PC Keith Blakelock and the subsequent botched investigations left an indelible mark on both the local community and the wider public. The brutality of his death shocked the nation, and the failure to bring his killers to justice only deepened the sense of injustice felt by many. As time passed, Keith's name became synonymous with the tragic consequences of the Tottenham Riots. His death was not just a law enforcement tragedy, it was a painful reminder of the racial and social tensions that had sparked the violence. The local community, as well as the police, struggled to find closure. Keith's family, particularly his widow and children, faced years of uncertainty, never fully knowing who was responsible for their loss. Despite the frustrations surrounding the case, PC Blakelock's sacrifice became a symbol of dedication to duty. His murder is still remembered by those who knew him as more than just a police officer. He was a family man who paid the ultimate price while trying to protect his community. Annual memorials and tributes keep his memory alive, ensuring that his life and death remain an integral part of Tottenham's history. Final resting place PC Keith Blakelock's life was tragically cut short, but his legacy lives on. After his brutal murder, the search for justice continued for many years, yet despite the failed investigations and controversial trials, his family, friends, and colleagues have never forgotten him. Keith was buried at the Tottenham Cemetery, a quiet resting place that contrasts sharply with the violent circumstances of his death. His grave has become a site of remembrance for those who still mourn his loss. For his family, the pain of not knowing who truly killed him never fully went away, but over the years, they found solace in the tribute to his service, bravery, and dedication to his community. In the years following the riots, Keith's story became a symbol of the struggles faced by both the police and the communities they serve. His murder is a painful chapter in the history of civil unrest, but his memory lives on, not just in memorials, but in the hearts of those who continue to fight for justice and equality. Despite the unsolved case, Keith's sacrifice is honored every year, reminding everyone that while justice may be delayed, it should never be forgotten. If you found this story intriguing, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another deep dive into a true crime case. The tragic and mysterious death of PC Keith Blakelock has left more questions than answers. Who were the real perpetrators? Was the justice system flawed in this case? The case's many twists and turns have left a permanent scar on the community of Tottenham, and the truth still eludes us. But one thing is clear: Keith's sacrifice has not been forgotten. Now, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you believe the right people were ever held accountable for Keith's murder? Or was the investigation mishandled from the start? What's your opinion on the role of the media and public perception in the case? Was Keith simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? Or was there a deeper motive behind his death? Let's discuss it in the comments below. Also, if you've been following this case and the ongoing mystery, you'll want to stay tuned for our next video. We'll be exploring the unsolved case of Claudia Lawrence. What really happened? You won't want to miss it. Subscribe now and join us for another deep dive into one of the UK's most baffling disappearances. See you in the next one!